Hello, and welcome to May 2023 State of the Market with Al Dragella. Al, what's up,
How you
brother?
doing, Bill?
Good. It's
Good.
been 90s here in Detroit, so
Ooh,
we're staying warm.
little
And
steamy. I mean, it seems like you guys go from like freezing cold to like too hot.
yeah, spring's about 3 days, and
Same
uh,
fall.
well, next week it'll be like 40. That's just how it works. Like that's why everybody's sick for like 3 months of the year. But no, yeah, just it's nice to actually sweat a little. Sometimes that's a good thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I don't know. Market's a little interesting at the moment. There's in our premium show, Scott had asked if we felt like maybe we had bottomed out a little bit, and you and I were kind of like, yeah, we're not real sure about that. And then we start seeing a little bit more of like, at least some of these premium items have really started to, a lot of people feel like there's some new entrants with some bankrolls buying some of the bigger items. So
Yeah, I mean, certainly, and we'll go through some of these. It feels like there's some players out there, some new entrants, that aren't scared to throw six figures at cards. Soccer cards, especially some of the more well-known players and higher grade versions.
yeah, it's I don't know. So it's kind of tough. It's like, okay, have we bounced? Maybe in certain areas, right? But who's to say that this is something that we can expect to follow, to continue? Is it a blip from the golden Netflix series? Is it really somebody who has bought into soccer? And not just one, it's got to be multiple with the prices that we're seeing. So that's a good positive thing. But we'll see how much of a true impact it has moving forward, I guess.
In a way, I think in some of the cards that we'll describe here, it's not unlike, people talk about the stock market, right? I mean, there's no like stock market unless you had a global, index fund. Which not even sure that exists, right? So you have to pick certain indexes. And if you would have done, the NASDAQ at the beginning of the year, you'd be up like 15, 20%. I don't know where things are closed today, but you'd be up 15, 20% for the year. And if you pick just, the New York Stock Exchange composite, you'd be flat, right? And if you picked other segments, you'd be down, a little bit here and there. And then there's every different, type of number in between those parameters that I just gave, right? So in a way, the soccer card market's pretty much the same, right now, where you've got some pockets that are doing, at least on a perception, that you'd be hard pressed to say they aren't bouncing.
Right.
But the data set is still narrow enough to where you're not 100% convinced. Because if you had, let's just say that we had a handful of people, 3, 5 people that came into the soccer market and said, I want to get 5 to 10 elite cards. That's not really changing the market, right? So that's just changing the market on a few well-known players over a short period of time. So, I think the PSA Messi that's in auction, PSA 10, 71 BIS, and the Ronaldo, PSA 10 rookie mega cracks, I think these will help to kind of define that side of the market, because they're kind of like those marquee cards, in kind of a way that the Vanderhook, Cruyff, and the Maradona 77 that just sold kind of did a little bit as well. But I'm hesitant to call that a broad market, growth scenario. I don't feel that in the mid to low grades, and still lots of things because of the fragmentation are still kind of getting lost in the shuffle. So that's kind of my take. I think there's a little bit of bifurcation on the elite items, which frankly, in the course of sports cards collecting, that's not atypical. You know, some of like the elite Honest Wagners and Babe Ruth rookies and you know, Kareem rookies and Bird and Magic and MJ, you know, those kind of had different runs at different times. Gretzky rookies that appear to do better than the broader market, right? I don't know. Those are some of my thoughts. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's. I mean, you're pretty spot on. I mean, it's. I guess we kind of expect that. Like the elite pieces are going to be the ones that draw the big money, and I mean, people who are dabbling, those are going to be the items they're looking for typically. You know, if they do have you know, the financial backing to make those purchases. Like, I mean, just like any of us, like if we're gonna probably buy the best card that we can for our collection, you know. So like, of course, that's what they're gonna do, especially if they're looking at it as investment pieces. You know, rather than buying 100 items, you know, you buy one for X, and then you know, you can feel pretty comfortable that your risk isn't great, right? Because it's in an elite piece, and somebody will always be interested in a top piece of one of the greats. So yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes. I think that, I mean, it's just smart decision making for them, you know. Like, why are you going to buy like a PSA 5 Beckenbauer or something? You know what I mean? Like, you're going to be shooting for the top end. So
Yeah, and if you are looking at it as an investment, if you want to consolidate the pieces, those have also been down significantly. So you can, you know, get in at a you know, kind of reasonable price, certainly relative to the peak. And yeah, so I mean, I think it's sometimes it's best if we look at individual auctions and talk about the specific cards, because not all cards, as we'll see at the Maradona 77, are created equal. You know, here, and it'll be fun just to walk through some of those auctions.
all right, well, asking you shall receive. So here is the PWCC um, premium premier auction. I always f that up.
Yeah.
And there's not many items. Somehow a couple of these got doubled up. But
how would you like to be selling Quiggles recently?
well, I mean, I had a 2 that I sold back in the day that sold for more than this 5. So, I mean, that kind of tells you
Where the market is. Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, it that's the Pele that's really taken a hit, and I get it. You know, I mean, now that it's being well, these all have 58, 59 on them. But now I think they're being listed as what, 59.60 or something
Yeah,
like
I
that.
think so. I think so.
So I think just the market is more aware of that, and we're seeing still a beautiful sticker, but yeah, that's the one of all the Pele's that's taken, you know, a huge hit. And I mean, it sucks having 3 of them listed the same. I mean, I don't know if it's the same seller. It very well could be, but I'm not sure I'd be happy having 3 listed in the same premier auction.
Yeah, me neither. And that's part of, you know, I think all the auction houses can do a better job of doing this for sellers. I'm not exactly sure how they're, you know, making these decisions, but you know, I honestly think that when you see something like that and you're going to send in a piece that's, you know, $5,000, 4,000, 10,000, or whatever, and you get, you know, you get matched up against 2 or 3, 4 or whatever cards of the same, that just got to leave a bad taste in your mouth. So yeah, hopefully hopefully there's a way to ultimately decide, hey, I only want this card, and I can envision that as a thing if you're going to submit it to auction. I only want this card if it's the only one of its issue.
Yeah.
Or don't place it in that auction. Now, I get it that that's hard to do with modern things, and you don't necessarily, otherwise the line could be like, 4 years, but it just over a certain value and of a certain vintage, I don't think it's super unreasonable to ask that.
Yeah, I mean, if you have the 4, that's literally the worst. You know what I mean? Like, if these were all three different submitters, the 2.5 almost got as much as the 4, and it's like that 4 is just kind of sitting there going, well, it's not the budget one, but it's not the highest graded either, and it just kind of sucks.
Yeah, no doubt.
But all right, anything else on the Quiggles?
Nothing else on the Quiggles. I mean, I think that the more interesting ones were these two.
Oh yeah. So we have the 6 Maradona disc, which it was a weak 6, yeah.
I would say very weak 6.
Yeah.
You had kind of a whole section of the left-hand side that didn't have the coloring, so it's kind of like misprinted, I guess. Would you call it misprinted or miscut?
Oh shit.
I hate when it does that.
I can't even click on it for some reason.
Well, you're just gonna have to. People are just gonna have to, search on this one and double, check it themselves. But yeah, this was what didn't have the best registration. It didn't have, it was kind of either miscut or miss.
Yeah, it's just the registration. It just the yellow is printed to the right, and so
so just a little bit off.
Yeah,
and I don't know what how they have the qualifiers PSA, what they would put on that.
Yeah.
But here they didn't put anything, but the market still bashed it because, and this is one thing that I really like about it, is that this 6 compared to the golden one that closed yesterday, or I think it was yesterday or the day before,
last night. Yeah.
Was much better. It was crisp. You could read all the letters on the shirt, except for those couple really nice registration. And it obviously went for a lot more money in the exact same grade. So it's nice to see that people are buying the card, not the grade, a little bit, even in these high end pieces, which sometimes people just buy the holder.
Right. And you can kind of see it a little bit better here. I mean, I can't zoom in any more than that, but you can see along the left, there's like white.
Right here.
There's no yellow. So,
I mean, honestly, it's still a nice card, right? I'd love to have this card in my collection. There's nothing wrong with it. It looked like the back had, potentially, some issues, but you don't know what's Newton rings because there was a little.
Yeah, I think these are definitely Newton rings.
There was some thing on the front that also wasn't that line, but it was a little. Actually, yeah, you can see that in the yellow.
Right here.
Yeah, right there. That's also Newton rings to my eyes.
I agree with that.
So, but you always have that little bit of a question, right? Oh, are those Newton rings? Are they not? Right. So, you've got it's still a nice card anybody would like to have in their collection. This one, I was shocked at how this one went. What are your thoughts here?
I can't recall seeing like a high graded one go recently. It seems like that a lot of them have kind of not been listed recently. Maybe I'm wrong, but it looks like it's clean, right? It's not like a screwed up grade.
Yeah, this issue has a lot of issues,
right?
But this is not one that has those issues to me.
I mean, the centering looks pretty solid. The back looks super clean. I mean, it's a solid price, right? Like it's somebody really wanted it. I mean, a 9 Cruyff rookie-ish. Like I get it. Like if you have the money and you're looking to add something like this to your collection, you're not gonna have many chances, right? Like how many of these are graded 9?
Yeah,
And
I was just
appropriately
yeah,
graded 9.
I think that's the rub on this one. Appropriately graded 9. I don't know. I mean, in total, there are 3 9s
Okay.
of this.
And how many are totally graded, like in the population?
220.
So, and this could arguably be the strongest one.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you've got at least what I'm looking at now, which it's a different flip than what they have there. They have the 1969. They've changed this to 1968 to 70
Right.
because we couldn't, tell the year. So there's 3 9s, 15 8s, including 1 8. No, I guess 16, including an 8.5, and 12 7s.
So 30 out of 200 and some are 7 or higher.
Exactly. So 15% are 7 or higher, and then only 1.5% are 9s, which is and this was a really good 9. I mean,
Yeah.
at least in my so maybe it's not crazy. It's just, I went into this auction thinking I had a chance to get this one at less than half of what it went for.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm surprised. And maybe I'm just polluted by what I was willing to pay for it, which is entirely possible and likely probable. But I guess now when you look at it, okay, top 1.5% of the Vanderhoots, which are generally overgraded in general, and this is a 9.
Right. Of those 30, how many are overgraded? I would probably be comfortable saying a third of them are overgraded.
I'd probably agree with you. So yeah,
So
so
then
now
if
that even
we extrapolate that
yeah.
just to the 9s, that means that there's only 2 good ones. 2
Yeah.
9s.
Okay, so I can walk my self into thinking that this is reasonable in this market. But I kind of feel like if this came up 2 months ago, it would have been a lot less. And I thought that I knew, you know, who probably my likely competition was going to be on this card. And I talked to him as well, and he was shocked. He got blown out of the water too. So there was at least 2 people that went beyond 2 natural people that I thought were going for this. So
Right.
you know,
And to be honest, like, I'm looking at it in hindsight, right? So like I can say, okay, yeah, but if I'm bidding, I would have never expected this. And so, I mean, that's where you kind of feel like there are definitely new entrants that are being aggressive to add premium. They're looking at the pops. I'm sure they're seeing that there's only 3. What's the chances of getting another one? This one looks incredibly clean. You feel comfortable that the grade is close. It's got to be probably correct or close to it. I mean, granted, I didn't inspect it completely, but just from arm's length, it looks really good.
yeah,
So
it looked. I mean, I expected it, which is great because PWCC, it is easy to do that. Because of their high res scans. Like I literally kind of went over every single black dot on the back and felt good that this was a legit 9. So yeah, I mean, certainly disappointed to lose this one, but it's a good mark for the market on what I would say to my eyes is still the distant choice in the rookies. Like
sure.
I would much rather have the Palarex or the Sicker Verlag. I know that some people don't like the dual on the Sicker Verlag, but
just for scarcity alone and condition sensitivity.
And it's probably, I mean, at the very least, it's the latest to 68 and most likely 67, 68. And this one goes all the way to 70.
Right. So you basically say this is a double print.
And yeah, it's a double print and it's multi-year, not of which 2 of those years wouldn't be considered rookies at all. And then it's more common, it's more graded. Yeah, so anyway, I thought it was a big result. In retrospect, now that I'm thinking about it, okay, you can definitely come to some resolution of saying this is reasonable, even in the market that we're in right now. But if I was a seller, based on what my expectations would have been, I'm imagining they're happy.
Yep. And I think just the fact that you and the other person you're speaking about were willing to bid on it lets you know it's a pretty epic card, because you're not just going to bid on like your run of the mill, Vanderhook.
Yeah.
So
this is an important
and a top notch one. So
yeah.
All right. Well, that's everything from the PWCC premiere.
Yeah, 2 cards. I mean, well, three different issues.
3 different cards. Yeah. 5 total. And so we'll shoot over to the Golden Elite auction that ended
last
night. There's only like 16 or 17 items. Just it's a little wonky with the sorting, so I had to sort it based on the last bid. So the first one's the Luka Modric, super rare, super high grade. Was this yours? Somebody mentioned in the Discord that you were going after this or something.
Yeah, so I did go after this, and that was my bid. So
cool.
That one I did win. Yeah,
congrats.
A little more than I wanted to pay for it, but I have a lower grade one, and I just feel like I don't know if this is going to be a good investment. I'm likely leaning towards no on this one, but if it holds as the only 9, and these have so far been really hard to find, I do kind of like the space. So, let's see. I'm happy to have him. I've been a big fan of his game, for many, many years. So I'm happy to have it as part of the collection. I don't think if I tried to flip it, I would do very well with that at that entry price, but I certainly like the sticker.
There was a question in the chat about the Cruyff, the Vanderhoot. Do you think a PSA 10 is feasible at any point?
I think so, because I had some packs of the 6970, which is obviously the same pack of this that I opened a couple years ago. And as long as the packs weren't like mangled, so you don't get any surface wrinkles or bends, the ones out of the pack, the only problem with them was the centering. So if you get just probability, there's going to be some really good centering on some of them. So I think it's possible. I wouldn't necessarily bet on it, but I think it's possible. I think there was a 10 or 2 of some other cards from the set. I'll double check that and see if
I mean, that's kind of like, I hate to say it, but PSA grades differently if it's a known player or it's a lesser known player. Like, for example, I sent in a bunch of Aquarellas. The Pele's get a 1.5. They're removed. Every Pele gets 1.5. Players they don't know get 3s. It's just like,
okay, yeah.
And it's the exact same from the same,
Yeah, same album or whatever, right?
So, and anybody that tells me otherwise, go look at star cards in the pop report compared to any other card in the set and see the percentage of high grades. It's just I'm sorry. Like you can't convince me otherwise. That there's some inconsistencies across, you know,
So
and whatever the reason is, do they give the higher dollar cards to better, more seasoned graders who are gonna, see things that other people don't? That very well may be, but whatever the reason, there's definitely some disconnect there.
So I just double checked on this. There are no 10s, but I think
Okay.
maybe it's the 7071s that have 10s.
Yeah, there's definitely tons in that.
In the Vanderhoot. So which
Mhm.
basically were distributed the same way. So I'd say there's the same, and there's only 3 9s, and all of them have been graded. Now, granted, 90% of all that have been graded are the Cruyff cards. So, and 3 9s, and they're all Cruyffs, but 90%. So that's not a statistical anomaly. So
Right.
I think it's possible there could be a 10 on that. I feel like a 10 on the other Cruyffs. I think there's just it's much less probable in terms of the Sicker Verlag, because the centering there is always terrible. The printing's not great. And the Palarex is frequently also has some issues on the centering, and super hard to find unstuck anyway. Both of those.
Yep.
Much more difficult to find unstuck, those two, than the Vanderhoop. But I mean, I'm not going to say there won't be a 10. I just like actually when I bought the Modric here, I wouldn't say that there's that's always the risk. Okay, this is the highest rated. What if a 10 pops up? Well,
you're just not going to be surprised if it happens. Like,
yeah, I'm not going to be shocked.
Yeah.
Obviously, I wouldn't love it if it happened, but I think that's kind of the nature of soccer, and which is why I don't usually go for the highest graded one, just because of that general risk.
Makes sense.
All
right. Let's see the next grouping. A 9.5 Messi for 21,000.
Don't you feel like that's low?
That was my initial reaction. Is like, that seems pretty light. Again, I haven't inspected it.
I mean, it was barely the 9.5, so it was 1.5 grade away from being a 9.
Gotcha.
Which would have made it, probably be less than half of that. But still, it's a 9.5, so it's not. I mean, it's still a really nice card. I looked at it, and I just felt like this was low. I feel like these had been higher, and I know Beckett continues to take it on the nose, but I thought that was low. I did think the Holland there at 100 grand seemed high, but again, I'm not really a player in that market that much.
Yeah.
But that one seemed high to me.
Yeah, that's I have no idea. Like any of that stuff, at this point I'm just like, okay.
Okay.
whatever you guys decide to pay, that's cool. But then we have this Alifa PSA 4, which I know our friend Brett got. And for the Alifa, that feels light, just based on, we see ones going for like 10, we see twos going for like 20. I mean, I get it, like if you're just going to tier it, but at some point you need to kind of see a curve, and I'm not sure we're seeing that with this 4. So, I haven't, again, I mean, the edges look a little frayed. But
I don't think a 4 is out of the question for this card. I looked at it and I said, you know what, this is a well-worn, loved card, which is what we normally think of with 3s to 4s.
Yep, that's exactly where I feel like it should be. So there's a little bit of a stain on the back.
Good, but solid card. Good eye
for
feel. Sure. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this card. And I think that even despite some of the lower prices on the lower grade ones, I do still feel like as the Quiggle wobbles and drifts down, the Alifa drifts down less, and so the separation becomes more, and hence the solidification of this as the main Pele rookie card continues, And the longer that narrative's in the market and the results are showing up, in the auction to reinforce that, the more difficult it gets to change that narrative later. So I thought this had another bit or two in it.
I agree.
Given where, like, it's a good card. I mean, I'd like to have this card in the collection, but I don't think it's unreasonable. I'd lean towards slightly more being the buyer than the seller. Yeah, even in this market that we're in today.
Yeah, so that's where I am, like a 65-35 buyer seller kind of thing. This is maybe where I am.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's a great card. I would definitely, obviously, love to have that. But all right, we got a 9 Messi.
You see that one went for like $7,000, right?
Yeah, so a third of the price.
And that was only, I forget the subgrades on that, but I'm like, that 9.5 could have been, if it was 0.5 away, it would have been a 9.
Yeah, well, honestly, this was only a 0.5 difference in grade. This is 9.5, 9.5, 9.5, 8.5. And the other one was 9.5, 9.5, 9.5, 9.
So that's a big difference. So that one, I thought, and I can't remember, I look at so many cards, but for whatever reason, I thought this one had some chipping along the edge. But I can be confusing it with something else. Maybe it's the PSA 10 that's at auction right now. But I would really, if you're in the 71 BIS market, yes, look at the grades, but also look at the cards. Just look at them carefully. I think there's just not a ton of consistency. And while Beckett generally, I'd say, has traditionally done a pretty good job on the cards, gosh, if it's 0.5 away, you're like, $14,000 and 0.5 away. Damn.
I mean, there's subgrades there. So, like, if you're comparing the two, I mean, it's just hard to, like, talk yourself into. Yes, it got that 0.5 on the flip, but it's also got the same subgrades with the exception of one. That's like, it just, I would totally think, I mean, if the cards are equal or are accurately graded, I probably prefer this 9 over the 9.5 for the price difference.
Yeah, $7,000, man. That seems like some value there. Although I'm not fully recalling the scan in my head. So now that we got another big one here, right?
Yep, now we have the 6, another 6. Let me see if I can, without effing this up. And how about we go to that one last, just in case there's anything else we want to talk about?
But I think, most of this other stuff is modern.
Okay, so I can just click on it then. Uh-oh. All right, so here's the front of the 6. The registration looks really good.
Yeah, and when you zoom in, it's just like crystal clear imagery. Great. You can read, all but those 3 letters, which is about as clear as it gets in the terms of the shirt. You got the notches, which I like to see.
Yeah.
On those, the colors just vibrant. I mean, this is a good card. And I know some people were saying, how can you pay this much when another 6 went for? You look at, there's none of that white miscut here. Also, there's no Newton rings, which also helps, I think. But I was looking a little bit into some of the historical pricing of this card, and there was a PSA 6 last year that sold in July, so basically a year ago, for $84,000. So even at this price, and I forget exactly how good that 6 was versus this one, but that would still be a significant drop from where we were at 84,000. Even though this one went for 4 times what the other 6 went for, but this is an exceptional copy. I mean, honestly, if I submitted this, I would be expecting a 7. If I submitted this, it's a big risk to crack out a 6 and send it back in, especially on this card. but I just look at this card and I'm like, what's wrong with it? That print dot there, that blue print dot.
I feel like there's some softness up here. Just on first glance, like up here, it almost looks like there's a fray. Whether that's the cut, I mean, but I don't see that anywhere else. And maybe, but I mean, that's probably why it gets a 6 or a 7 and not higher, right?
Yeah, I just look at this and I'm like, okay, this is a great copy.
It is. It's definitely. I mean, it's so clean. Like the just the registration's fantastic. Like,
and so many of these have issues. So yeah, I'd say, congrats to the buyer. I think there was a 7 in September that sold for like 84 as well. So yeah, I mean, I think it's higher than we all would have expected, just like it was higher the Vanderhoot than I would have expected. But it's also nice to see some people coming into the market willing to step up and pay a lot of money for a soccer card.
Yep. And it's a biggie. There's no doubt about it. Like, there's not a lot that are going to be better than this. Even with me nitpicking at the top and stuff like that. Like, I mean, that's just me trying to find something, like, could this be something? So,
yeah.
All right. So that looks like that's everything for the Elite. I don't know. I have like the last weekly auction. I mean, there's like a George Best in there and some other things.
Yeah. Was there anything else that kind of, caught your attention?
So this is weekly auction 70. So a few weeks ago.
Right. So that's an interesting one, because I think a lot of us believe that the Zidane here is a bad copy.
And when you say bad, you mean this is not a legit copy?
Yeah, and that's problematic, especially since it did so well, right? Because it's an iconic hobby card. Again, it's just so hard to buy anything in Beckett holders with respect to especially the soccer stickers. It's just so painful, and they've fallen so far.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a problem. I think you can search on the Discord all the comments about this, and so I won't rehash them here.
Right.
But even what do you think about the PSA 6 Best?
I mean, I'm kind of impressed with with the price, to be honest. Like, I feel like that's a pretty good price just based on what we've seen a lot of other things. That's not a premier grade for this issue. It's probably in the lower 50% of grades.
You think? I thought that. I mean, I know that used to be the case, but didn't they kind of catch up? Like I think originally most of those, I guess I'll search right now. Most of those that were originally graded were all high grade, right? And then as time went on, it started to be we started to get lower grades. So
so there's 79 graded, and I guess the 6 is there's 11, 20, 39 or
higher.
I'm sorry, 28 that are graded over a 6.
So it's in the top half.
Yeah, it's probably the median grade. It is the median grade. So
okay, yep. All right. So I mean, yeah, you're not too far then. I thought that, yeah, we now have a lot. I mean, I remember a time when there was like almost nothing below a 4, and now there's like 20 or 30. So still not a huge amount, but okay. So it's basically the median grade. Yeah. So then based on that, I think it's pretty strong performance, right? Given where the market is.
Yeah. So that was kind of my thought, because like, I sold a 4 during the boom for
10 grand.
10.8 or something like that, I think. And I think it was 9,000 was the bid before premium. So I mean, I feel like this is actually not bad based on that. So
Yeah, no, I think that's probably right. Medium grade. I'm a little shocked that we haven't hit 100 on the pop report yet, but that's pretty cool. I love the card. Such an
yeah, I
iconic
think it's
card.
bound to happen though, right?
Yeah, I think it has to. Yeah, so titulares.
Yep, PSA 2 for 2,500. There's one ending tonight on eBay. I think it's at 1,700. Also a 2. Probstein, so check it out.
Yeah, this
I just
one.
feel like, this is one of my favorite. Like, I think we've talked about this. It's just the pops aren't going up that much. At some point, these are gonna kind of get more noticed.
I feel that way too. I mean, look at this. This is a the back on this one was really nice. Like a lot of them are shredded.
Right.
And this one actually had a really nice. I think there's exceptional value in this one. So congrats to the winner there. And did you see the Roberto Carlos?
Yeah, that's I don't know. See, like, great card, or sticker, right? I always see like those are really low, like 3s and 4s, the grades. So a 9 is a great grade. But I have no idea if that's like a good
Yeah.
price or not.
Yeah, I mean, certainly a 9. I think that's the only one. And there's only a couple others. So 4 grand, a little rich, for me, but
Okay.
honestly, it's awesome.
It says
I mean,
pop 1 of 3.
yeah, so I think that's amazing. And then the Romario also bringing in. I mean, it's not a super difficult one, and an 8 with that centering, awesome card. Again, went for a little more than I expected.
Yeah, because those have kind of dropped a lot. We're seeing 6s go in the hundreds. So
yeah, so this definitely is someone going for one of the higher graded ones, because there's 8 8s now, and
Yep.
and a 9. So yeah, those aren't super tough in lower grades, but those are definitely marquee, very difficult to get in the grades. And then there's we had the Ronaldinho in a 6, which was 24, and the 8.5 Barese at what, 1500. A 9 Barese just went on eBay for like 1900, which I think is also a pop 1. So he's getting some love even in that relatively common Panini issue.
And then this was last week's auction. We have the Oliveira, Balas.
Yeah, which, I mean, this to me was probably the single most surprising result. Love the sticker. The price was just orders of magnitude, 3 times probably what I expected it to go for. It only takes 2, again, people who have the payroll, I mean, who have the and want to go after it. But yeah, that surprised me a lot. Still beautiful, rare sticker. This one, the 86, I think, brought a pretty solid price.
Yeah, I agree.
And this is the most common of the 3 versions, but still a really nice looking card. And to bring in nearly 10 grand, that's a big deal. And high grade Vav rookie that went for what, 7,000?
7,200. Yep, for the 4.
And that's one of the highest graded. Again, there's a couple higher, but still. So I'd say that across the board, this one went low, but I didn't feel like it was a 6. This Maradona 78.
Yeah, it looks a little weak for the grade. Yep.
Yeah. But on things that especially those Pele's, pretty strong results, across those Pele's that I thought, are another sign, whereas both of us are hesitant to call a bottom, they're definitely pockets of strength.
Yeah.
Rare things, iconic players in high grade, and that's how markets start to turn corners, right? The best high quality assets get valued more, and then as they separate from the other things, some of those things catch on, right? And they follow them up. So, I mean, I'd say maybe one of the more encouraging months of the year from the soccer card market perspective.
So, but keep in mind that we're entering the summer. Summer is usually a little weaker. So if we see it continue into June, then I think there's some strength there, right? Like there's some I'll start to get a little hope that we are turning the corner, because it's counteracting it being the summer. And if it doesn't, well, I'm still not sure what I feel, right? Because like it's weak in the summer typically anyway. So
exactly.
So I don't know if I'm going to be confident that we're anywhere unless we see really strong sales this next coming month. It might be October before I even can get a read on anything, again. So
yeah.
But
I mean, I'd rather, as we originally, coming into this year, had talked about, this being the year of the collector. I still feel that in collector grades, there haven't been a ton of movement. The investor grades are getting the bump right now. So, I don't think it really changes the perspective if you're not going for the absolute highest grade in things. There hasn't been a tremendous amount of movement.
No. I've been finding deals, actually a lot of deals. So here and there, I just see people slowly dropping prices. I'm keeping an eye on items, and they keep dropping the price, and then I make some ridiculous offer, and it's accepted.
Yeah, at some point, you're just like, I'll take it, right?
Yeah.
So I think it still continues. That narrative, I think, is still alive and well. And we've got some rumblings and some consolidation and some movement at the high end of the market, which is typically what helps the low end in time. It just takes time. And we're not sure this is permanent or if it's a momentary blip. So let's take a wait and see.
Yep, something to pay attention to.
Yep, it's something. But I'd rather have that than a sharp stick in the eye, right?
Right.
So that's kind of where that's headed, and I think it's a good thing for the market, and it's been a good month for the market.
Yep, I agree, and it's nice to see some nicer items coming up for sale too, which kind of helps. So we keep seeing the same things over and over again. So seeing something a little different, maybe gets more eyes into a particular auction. So I guess that's it. We got another one down. Next one's June. So we'll see what happens. And guess until then, thanks to everyone watching. And happy start of the summer. And if you guys are members of the Discord, we'll see you there.
See you guys.